The wind howled through the ruined streets of the once thriving town of Carentan. Smoke curled from the remains of shattered buildings, and the acrid scent of gunpowder hung in the air. Private James Callahan adjusted his helmet and gripped his rifle tighter. His unit, part of the 101st Airborne Division, had been deployed deep into enemy territory during the largest invasion in history, D-Day. James had always been a quiet man, raised in the rolling plains of Kansas, where life was slow and predictable. War was anything but. Now, standing in the middle of a foreign land, he felt a world away from home. He glanced at his comrades, their faces smeared with dirt and exhaustion. Each one carried a different story, but they were bound together by the unspoken understanding that their survival depended on each other. A voice crackled in his radio. All units, prepare for a counterattack. Enemy forces regrouping on the Eastern Front. James swallowed hard. He had seen enough death to know that another battle meant more lives lost. He glanced at his best friend, Corporal Danny Sullivan, a scrappy kid from Brooklyn with a cocky grin that never seemed to fade. "Guess we're in for another round, huh, Jimmy?" Danny said, checking his ammo. "Looks like it," James replied, forcing a half-smile. The whistle of an incoming mortar made them duck instinctively. A deafening explosion sent debris flying, and James felt the ground shake beneath him. The attack had begun. Machine gun fire erupted from the enemy's position, and James found himself sprinting behind a crumbling wall for cover. His heart pounded as he aimed his rifle at the advancing German soldiers. The world around him became a blur of noise and chaos. He pulled the trigger, feeling the recoil as bullets tore through the air. "Keep pushing forward," their lieutenant shouted. James and Danny moved together, their unit advancing inch by inch. As they neared an abandoned cafe, a sudden burst of gunfire forced them to dive for cover. Danny groaned, clutching his leg where a bullet had torn through his flesh. "Hang in there, Danny," James yelled, pulling out a field dressing to stop the bleeding. But the enemy wasn't letting up. They were pinned down. Then, a voice echoed from behind. "Covering fire. Go, go, go." Reinforcements had arrived. The air filled with the sound of gunfire as their fellow soldiers provided the opening they needed. James hoisted Danny onto his shoulders, gritting his teeth as he carried him back to safety. Hours passed before the battlefield fell silent again. The Americans had secured the town, but at a heavy cost. Medics rushed to treat the wounded, and James sat beside Danny, who managed a weak smile. "Guess I owe you one, buddy." James exhaled, exhaustion washing over him. "Just don't make a habit of it." As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue over the war-torn land, James looked at the faces around him. Some were missing, others wounded, but all had fought for something greater than themselves. The echoes of the battlefield would never fade, but in that moment, James knew they had made a difference. And for now, that was enough.